Well, hey, Midships family, Captain Corey here. I'm finally getting settled in here in the new Midships home studio. Don't worry, the actual studio is still there. Nothing's gonna change. I'm gonna be in there tomorrow. Today's episode, though, is gonna be here in the home studio. Got the teleprompter ready, camera back here, all ready to record. We got cruise news to attend to today. There's some big stories. We've got a crash to talk about of a riverboat cruise that hurt like 11 people now. It sounds pretty serious. We're gonna get into some details on that. We also have Carnival addressing the rising prices of goods on land. And we're gonna talk about shortages as well and how they affect cruising. So without further ado, let's roll the intro. Welcome to the Midships channel. I'm your Captain Corey. Thank you so much for stopping by this channel again today. And we've got cruise news on the docket. And there's a story coming out about a river cruise crash that's actually injured a lot of people on board. I have some photos. I'm going to show you exactly where it's believed that this all happened. But before we do that, it's time for a question of the day. And today's question, when you cruise, where's your favorite place to be at sail away? Are you up on the Lido deck enjoying the pool party, the sail away festivities? Do you hide away in your cabin, maybe on your balcony? Or maybe you like to watch from the front or the back of the ship, especially the back. I'm an aft ship sail away guy. So let me know your answer down in the comment section below this video. While you're down there, there's a button that looks like this. It's a thumbs up. Just go ahead and tap on that for me. Do me a huge favor. It tells YouTube to push this video out to more cruisers like you. So looking at the cruise news of the day, we have Carnival Cruise Line coming out to let you know that while cruise prices are rising, you're still going to have a great time on your cruise. Additionally, a new market is reopening a little bit early, and we need to talk about a new cruise ship receiving her Godfather. Yeah, that's right. It's not just for the moms. But first, are you staying abreast of the baby formula shortage? Yeah, that was a cheeky joke for those of you who see what I did there. Well, those shortages aren't just limited to baby formula. We've been seeing them for 6 months or more on cruise ships. If you remember, Carnival Cruise Line started rationing bacon almost half a year ago. So to set the stage for this shortage story, there's a company out of Florida called the Apollo Group. They work all over the place, and basically they're the group that provides the food that goes on board your cruise ship. They do all the logistics and get the food onto the ships. Well, according to folks at the Apollo Group, every few weeks they're noticing that products are missing because of supply chain issues. Shipping prices and lead times, which is how long they have to wait for the supplies, are getting more and more challenging. And they say items that used to take 2 or 3 weeks can now take up to 2 months to receive. And basically all this to say that the just-in-time inventory method that they're used to, it's not really a thing right now. So I have a question. How many of you out there in the Midships family have noticed maybe a little bit of a backup with some of the favorite things you like to buy? Let me know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to a happier story. And this is coming from the other side of the pond. And no, we're not talking about Europe. This is coming from New Zealand. Following one of the longest cruise operational pauses in the history of the world, which is a statistic that is arguably embarrassing for the country of New Zealand, maybe. The first Kiwi cruise ship will be allowed to sail after July 31st. But given the fact that this reopening has happened a little bit surprisingly earlier than expected, there aren't actually any cruises slated to go out until the Majestic Princess becomes the first ship to return to New Zealand October 16th. So we still have like 5 months to wait until the Kiwis can get back on their favorite cruise ship. You all know folks from New Zealand are called Kiwis, right? You don't just think I'm some weirdo on the internet talking about birds. I mean, I'm certainly some weirdo on the internet, but sometimes I know what I'm talking about. Hey, Carnival Cruisers, this next one's for you. And no, I'm not talking about this really nice shirt that you could get on my Midships merch store, even though you would look really good in this on your next Carnival cruise. And if you're interested, there is a link down below. No, I'm talking about Carnival CEO Arnold Donald coming out to let you know you're not going to get sticker shock when you take your Carnival cruise later this year, despite all the inflation going on around the country. Now, with that said, Carnival has been slowly raising their prices for their cruises over the last several months. And especially if you look out towards the third and fourth quarter of this year, their prices have doubled from what they would have been at the same time last year. And of course, that's just a simple equation of supply and demand. As more and more people demand to be on a cruise, the supply of rooms goes down, which means Carnival is going to look for more and more money per cabin, because that's what they're in the business of doing, making money for their investors. However, according to their CEO, Arnold Donald, they're not planning on raising their prices for cruising much further than what they already have, which is a really good thing because just a week ago, Carnival finished their Great Cruise Restart. All of their ships are finally back on the water, sailing, taking paying passengers out for the vacation of a lifetime. And one of the best pieces of news for Carnival Cruise Line is they've noticed that onboard spending remains extremely strong, despite having just raised prices on board for things like alcohol, Wi-Fi, and gratuities. So how many of you out there in the Midships family would ever consider taking a Carnival cruise? For my part, I think it's a fantastic value for a vacation. So much so that I'm hosting a group cruise on board a Carnival ship later this year. If you're interested in how you can cruise with me on board the Carnival Sunshine, there's a link to the Group Cruises Facebook page in the description right down there below this video. It's a 5-night cruise leaving from Charleston, South Carolina on board the Carnival Sunshine. We're going to do some amazing things together every single day. It's a chance to meet and hang out with me and other folks in the Midships family. Plus, if you're in my group cruise, you're going to be invited to help me record a new intro for this very channel. I'd love to see you on board. And since we're talking about US-based cruises, Carnival has recently released a memo, but this will also affect Royal Caribbean cruisers too. Basically, for anybody cruising out of Galveston, you're going to want to pay attention to what I have to say, because if you are cruising out of Galveston in the next few weeks or months, you need to add a bunch of extra time to get to the cruise terminal due to some major road construction on the main highway into town, I-45. It runs south out of Houston into Galveston. And the disruptions have been so bad that Carnival Cruise Line has actually sent letters to passengers booked on their ships advising them, hey, you need to get here much earlier than you think you do. So if you're flying or driving for your next cruise in Galveston, which is almost 100% of Galveston cruisers unless you literally live at the port, definitely plan to bring some extra snacks, drinks, and pack some extra patience with you, because this highway construction could add multiple hours to your commute into the Galveston cruise port. And this is something that actually has happened already. Already, cruise ships have literally delayed leaving because nobody had gotten there yet. Okay, well, earlier we talked about shortages impacting cruisers. Well, we have more news coming from Cunard, which is the higher-end ocean liner company based out of the UK. So recently, some individuals who were booked on upcoming Cunard sailings have received emails letting them know their cruises are canceled. Now, according to the cruise line, they blame the cancellations on not only supply chain shortages, but also a shortage of workers. They don't have enough crew on board their ships. And of course, they're naturally blaming COVID, which pretty much every company blames for any problems they have nowadays. Now, as of yet, there's no word if this is going to impact the brand new Cunard ship, Queen Anne, but if you stay subscribed to this channel, I'll happily let you know if anything changes. All right, let's talk about this Viking River cruise ship that crashed into a bridge and ended up injuring 11 individuals sailing on board. I've got some photos, and I also want to take a look at an animation. Here it is. This comes from Google Earth, and it's just kind of to help give you an idea of where in the world this happened. The incident occurred on the Danube River near the village of Komarna. And you can see here, this is likely the railroad bridge, which makes the most sense to be the one that the Viking ship would have crashed into. It's just west of the town of Komarna, and you can actually see up here, this is where the river cruise ships would dock. And we'll just go ahead and drop down into a street view so you can get sort of a feeling for what the ship most likely struck. Now, according to reports coming out online, the Viking cruise ship named Injures crashed into the pillar of a railway bridge. Now, this story, it's really not been widely reported here in the US. However, according to tweets put out by the most reliable sources I could find, the captain of this ship suddenly became medically indisposed right before the incident occurred. Now, some grifter, tabloid-style websites who falsely claim to be news purveyors, despite injecting tons of their own opinion and hearsay arguments, they're saying the captain was drunk or had fallen asleep at the wheel. Or at least that's what they allege, despite clearly having zero proof to substantiate the claims. It's embarrassing reporting. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't trust a lawyer to represent me who just literally makes things up out of thin air. And all this to say, it kind of makes me hesitate to report much more because the Cruise Law News article was the source for a lot of this information. However, since it's one of the only sources I can find reporting on the story, we have to deal with it. But luckily, there is a quote in the story from the Slovakian Minister of Transportation, Andrej Dolezal, who posted on his Twitter an update saying the number of injured on the river cruise ship had risen to 11, up from 7. However, he did note there was no leakage of any oil or dangerous substances into the water system. The incident remains under investigation. So there you go. Do we think the captain of this Viking ship, Injures, was drunk? Okay, moving on to our next cruise news story. We need to once again look at NCL Cruise Line. Their CEO, Frank Del Rio, has recently hinted that they might be moving and shaking some ships, aka pulling a ship out of the Asian market. And that wouldn't really be a surprise at all, considering most of their competitors have already done that. Now, the ship we're talking about is Norwegian Sun. She currently has a scheduled program in Asia for the rest of this year and the 2023 season. So it remains to be seen what NCL will decide to do with the Sun. All right, this next story is for the boys. Are you tired of the ladies always getting to be the godmother of cruise ships and you're just a little bit jealous and you're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I could be the godfather of a cruise ship? Well, I have hope for you because Margaritaville at Sea has just named a godfather for their brand new ship, the Paradise. His name is Shaquem Griffin, and he's a former player for the Seattle Seahawks. He's the recipient of the NFL Game Changer Award as well as the NCAA Inspiration Award. And what an inspirational figure Griffin is. At the age of 4, he had his left hand amputated due to health conditions. Despite this setback, he was able to make it to the NFL. Griffin is participating in the christening ceremony today down in the port of Palm Beach. And it's kind of exciting to hear this player to be named as the Godfather because he actually played at the University of Central Florida, which from my studio for Midships, I could hit a golf ball and land it in the stadium where he played. So let's wrap it up right there with the feel-good story. If you made it this far into today's episode, make sure you subscribe to the channel with the bell notification turned on. Thank you so much for stopping by today, and until tomorrow, we'll see ya on the Midships. La 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 la.